844-374-5433. That's the number to call to speak to me live today and every day here on the Dr. Glidden Show, 844-374-5433. Today's Thursday. That means when we can, we speak about metaphysical subjects. Metaphysical subjects, things which are outside of the ken of conventional science, to be able to measure or to codify or to understand. The easiest way to describe metaphysics is love. That's a perfect example. You could, if somebody asked you if you loved your mother, and you said yes, would you then be able to prove it? Well, not so much. This is a perfect example of a metaphysical subject. God, another perfect example of metaphysics. God, of course, so far is outside of the ken, outside of the ability of science to prove or disprove. You could have an out-of-the-body experience, go to heaven, visit all of the saints, all of the angels, all of the archangels, come back into your body, and you would not be able to prove that it had happened. This is an interesting concept to talk about metaphysics, and how it applies to medicine is even more interesting, right? Because, sit down, here's an eye-opener for you, perhaps a eureka moment. Your medical doctor is an atheist. Your medical doctor is an atheist, at least while they are at work. Medicine, MD-directed medicine, is based on a reductionistic method of scientific inquiry, which is based on Newtonian physics. And Newtonian physics argues that if it can't be measured, it does not exist. And since nobody can measure the soul, nobody has ever discerned God with a microscope or an MRI or a CT scan. Therefore, it does not exist. So your medical doctor is of the belief that there is no soul force inside the body, no spiritual force, no vital force, no inherent pranic energy inside the human body whatsoever, that the human body is a bag of biochemicals waiting to break, period, and that consciousness itself is a function of biochemistry. Consciousness itself is a function of biochemistry. According to the MD, when you die, it's lights out, game over. Everything comes to a grinding halt. There is no such thing as God. There is no such thing as life after death. There is no such thing as anything other than the body. This is the ideation, the philosophy that your medical doctor is brought up inside of. And if that doesn't terrify you, you're not paying attention. Now, pragmatically, how does this apply to the human being? Well, think it through. If there is a soul, the soul exists inside the body, right? The soul has an intimate relationship with the body. As a matter of fact, holistic physicians all around the world argue that the soul force is the very thing that animates the physical body. And how do we know this? Because when somebody dies, the body stops functioning. The biochemistry of the body is exactly the same 1 second after death as it is during life. Well, why has everything stopped working? Because the soul has left the body. Elvis has left the building. It is the presence of the soul in the human body which makes the human body work and which regulates all of the millions of automatic functions inside the human body every day. This is a very, very important point to ponder. This understanding, conceptual understanding of the vital force is one of the foundations of naturopathic medicine, and this is what gives rise to our maxim: give the body what it needs, stop eating food that's gumming up the works, detoxify the body appropriately, and the body will fix itself. This is the message of this radio program. This is naturopathic medicine 101, exemplified perhaps best by Dr. Lindlar, one of the founders or fathers of naturopathic medical thought. Dr. Lindlar, one of the founders of naturopathic medical thought. Give the body what it needs, e.g., nutrify the body with the 90 essential nutrients every day. Stop eating food that's coming up the works, e.g., stop the 12 bad foods, and detoxify the body on a regular basis. Keep your fingers crossed, and 9 times out of 10, the body fixes itself. But the medical doctor does not believe that this is possible. The MD does not believe that this is possible. So when the MD sees a disease process in the body, their Newtonian physics, they're grounding in Newtonian physics, and their training in allopathic reductionism teaches them that they must oppose the disease process. MD-directed reductionistic allopathic medicine is oppositionally defiant. So, number one, the medical doctor doesn't treat the body, the medical doctor treats the part. So you get one medicine for your arthritis, one medicine for your blood pressure, one medicine for your anxiety, one medicine for your insomnia, etc., etc., etc. And the medicines are designed not to fix the problem, but to manage the problem, and they manage the problem through violent opposition. So you're given an antibiotic, right? An anti-inflammatory, an antidepressant. You are given a medicine, the intention of which is to combat the symptom somehow, to upregulate, manipulate the biochemistry of the human body with a man-made synthetic drug in order to suppress the symptom that the body is throwing out. This goes against most holistic laws of medicine, laws of healing, and virtually all holistic thought. Because from the holistic point of view, the symptomatic expression of the disease holds the keys to the cure. But these distinctions on the symptomatic expression of disease are lost to the MD. I'm talking to a person in the chat room today. And by the way, if you'd like to watch a live video stream of this radio program, that's right, see my smiling face, and also join in an active chat room, you can do that by going to my website, glidden.healthcare, glidden.healthcare, and becoming a Dr. Glidden advocate, which, among other things, will give you access to the video feed of this radio program and the active chat room. By the way, it will also give you access to the live webinars that I produce. Tonight's webinar, 7 p.m. Central Time, for advocates and their guests exclusively. Cholesterol myth-busting. Cholesterol myth-busting. If you think cholesterol is the Antichrist, you have been played by the pharmaceutical industry. The research has been done. The facts are in. Cholesterol has nothing to do with the genesis of heart disease. Nothing to do with the genesis of heart disease. You want more information about that? 7 p.m. tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time. Go to glidden.healthcare for more information. But I digress. The point that I'm attempting to make here is that when the body is in a state of health, it's symptom-free. And then the body experiences a stress that is too much for it to handle. The stress destabilizes the body, and the body compensates by generating a symptom. So, for instance, if you have a migraine headache, you have pain in the head, right? Now, if you bring that migraine headache to the office of a medical doctor, what do? They give you pain meds, they give you anti-inflammatories, and Fiorinol, the intention of which are to do nothing whatsoever to restore balance to the system, but simply to suppress and manage the symptoms, which is why, under the MD's care, the migraines keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back, and then you need more drugs and more drugs and more drugs and more drugs, because their treatments do not get to the root cause of the disease. Why? Because their treatments are juvenile. And their treatments are based upon a philosophy of healing which is inconsistent with the reality of the human experience. So, if you had a migraine headache and you went to a holistic physician, especially someone trained in naturopathy or homeopathy, the holistic physician would ask you, well, what part of the head is painful? Is it the right temple? Is it the left temple? Is it the top of the head? Is it the back of the head? Is it the right eye? Is it the left eye? What does the pain feel like? Is the pain throbbing? Is it pounding? Is it bursting? Is it ripping? Is it tearing? Does it feel like someone's hammering a nail into your head? What does the pain feel like? What makes the pain feel better? Does a cold application make the pain feel better? Does a hot application make the pain feel better? What makes the pain feel worse? Does lying perfectly still make it better? Does moving around make it worse? Does coughing make it worse? Does sneezing make it better? What makes the pain better? What makes the pain worse? And what comes along for the ride with the pain? When you get a migraine headache, do you get nauseous? Do you see sparks in front of your eyes? Do you get ringing in your ears? Do you get a really tense, wry neck? What happens to your body when you are experiencing a headache? A holistic physician looks at all of these minutiae, all of these details of the symptoms, the symptomatic expression of the disease, and includes each and every one of them in their diagnostic assessment of what to do to cure the problem. And when you pay attention to the symptomatic expression of the body with fine detail, even with coarse detail, for goodness sakes, you are given clues as to what to do to cure the problem. Because the symptoms that the body is manifesting offer direct clues as to what to do to attempt to cure the problem, which is a much different consideration than simply pushing symptoms around with man-made synthetic drugs, which is the only thing that the MDs are trained to do. This begs the question, right? How is it possible that one person with a migraine headache has these sets of symptoms and another person with a migraine headache has completely different, utterly, totally different symptoms? And why do the MDs pay no attention to these things whatsoever? The answer to that question when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Peter Glidden. Check out the website, glidden.healthcare. Back after these messages. Dr. Peter Glidden here. Thanks so much for clicking on the link. I appreciate your trust and your curiosity. Last year in the United States, we spent over $30 billion on nutritional supplements, and everybody's still sick. When it comes to nutritional supplements, the recipe is everything. All wine is made from grapes. There's a great deal of difference from bottle to bottle, depending on too many variables to count. It's the same with nutritional supplements. If you need to spend hard-earned money on nutritional supplements, which you do because medical insurance doesn't pay for it, did you ever wonder why? Well, that's the subject for an entirely different conversation. But in point of fact, our position is, in order for the body to work the way that God and nature intended it, there are 90 essential nutrients that need to be imported into it on a daily basis. These 90 essential nutrients are not all present in the food supply. You must supplement. It's mandatory. You must give your body the raw materials it needs every day to optimize its structure and function. You must give your body a fighting chance. So you need nutritional supplements. Well, which nutritional supplements should you take? That's the million-dollar question. I've been doing naturopathic medicine, practicing naturopathic medical therapeutics in clinical settings for over a quarter of a century now. And as God is my witness, I am here to tell you that the nutritional supplements which produce the most consistent, effective results are those developed and delivered by Youngevity. If you have finally snapped out of it and seen the light, if you are finally convinced that medical nutrition is what your body has been missing your entire life, and if you're ready to take a walk through the undiscovered country of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, then you need to try Youngevity's nutritional supplements because they produce the most consistent results of anything I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot in over a quarter of a century of primary care naturopathic medicine. Fill out the form on this page, ladies and gentlemen. Click the submit button, and a Youngevity representative whom I know and trust will be in touch with you to show you what to do to support and promote your body's ability to optimize its structure and function. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your trust. I am your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Peter Glidden. Live long and prosper. I'll see you around campus. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden You're a steadfast advocate for health. So it is the presence of the soul in the body, the presence of the spiritual force. Call it whatever you want. Soul, spirit. Call it, Mrs. Robinson. I don't care what you call it. Whatever it is that persists after your body dies, that's what I'm talking about. Whatever it is that brings light to your eyes, that's what I'm talking about. I don't care what you call it. It is the presence of this spiritual force inside of the human body which is running the show. And because the body is an intricate system of connected parts run by this energetic, undiscoverable, vital force, everybody's body will generate different symptoms when it is stressed. So your migraine headache will show up symptomatically completely different than your neighbor's migraine headache. Your arthritic symptoms will be completely different than your next door neighbor's. Your arthritis might be accompanied with redness and swelling. Your neighbor's might not. Your neighbor might have a white knee instead of a red hot knee. It might be white and cold. Your neighbor's knee might be aggravated by motion. The more that they move, the worse it feels. Your arthritis might be made better by motion. The more you move, the better it feels. Your neighbor's pain, arthritic pain, might be aggravated by a cold application. Your arthritic pain might feel better from a cold application, and so forth and so on. And these distinctions are extremely important in attempting to understand what to do to cure a health condition. The symptomatic expression of the body holds the key to the cure of the illness, but these distinctions are lost on the medical doctor in large part because their understanding of the human body does not include the vital force. And this omission is the main reason why the MD's therapeutics fail. Because the MDs have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Again, it's like they're colorblind artists, but they don't know that they're colorblind. The paintings are always going to be incorrect. They're always going to be wrong. Always. Guaranteed. So when into a complex system of interrelated parts, managed, motivated, vitalized, activated, controlled by the spiritual vital force in the human body, when into this complex system, you throw man-made drugs willy-nilly, it's like throwing shoes into a complex system of gears. You're going to sabotage the system. This is the main reason why drugs create side effects, because they'll have an attended effect over here, but they'll have a side effect over here, because they are an oppositionally defiant system of medicine based on a philosophy of healing which is incorrect. But nobody calls the MDs on this. So when, celebrities die from conditions that holistic physicians fix all of the time, when celebrities die from congestive heart failure, when celebrities die from heart disease, when celebrities die from high blood pressure or whatever, we give the MDs a pass. Because we've been socialized to believe that the medical doctors, if the medical doctors can't figure it out, nobody can. We've been figuring this stuff out for hundreds of years, successfully treating all of the conditions that the MDs fail at. And yet we're thrown to the back of the bus. We're demagogued. We're thrown in jail. We're talked down upon. It's bad, ladies and gentlemen. But the main thing here I want you to understand is that your medical doctor, by virtue of their education in allopathic reductionism, which is based on Newtonian physics, they have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. They do not understand the most fundamental aspect of the human organism, which is that the human body is inhabited by a spiritual presence. And it is this spiritual, energetic presence which brings intelligence into the human body, which is running the show. And when the body is sick, it generates very unique, individualized symptoms And you must pay attention to the individualization of the symptoms if you are going to attempt to cure the problem. The medical doctors do none of this, which is why their therapeutics fail. MD-directed medical treatments are the leading cause of death in the United States. They're the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States. And it's not because they're not smart. It's because they're trained in a method which is insufficient to the cause. But their arrogance and hubris makes them completely incapable of any introspection. So instead of blaming their own misguided misconceptions, they blame you. You're lazy, you're fat, because you're lazy and fat and you have a bad gene. It's nonsense.
If you are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, if you are finally finished with expensive and ineffective MD treatments, and if you are frustrated with not knowing which nutritional supplements to take, you have come to exactly the right place. We are here to help. Log into EiffelHealth.com, click the contact button, and someone who has been working with Dr. Glidden will contact you and show you exactly what to do to recover your health. Go to EiffelHealth.com. That's EiffelHealth.com and click the contact button now.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health, attempting to educate as many people as is possible about what's going on here. Because remember, your medical doctor is not a bad person. They just are brought up inside of an outdated, old-fashioned medical discipline that doesn't work. And the problem with the MDs is that they're so arrogant that it is impossible for them to admit that what I just said is correct. So when their therapeutics fail, they switch and they'll just do something else, right? A new drug. We need a new drug. That's how we're going to cure cancer. We need a new drug. No, you're never going to cure cancer. You're never going to cure heart disease. You're never going to cure anything except the occasional bacterial infection. And then the treatments that you bring to bear on the bacterial infections are going to cause epidemics of antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections. You're going to kill us. Fire your medical doctor now, because they do not know what they're doing when it comes to treating disease. If you have a bullet in your arm or a broken bone, go to the MD, because that's their strength. Let's go to Emily in Georgia and see what's cracking. Hey, Emily, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Hey, Dr. Glidden, how are you?
Fine, thanks, but God willing, I'll get better. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, look, I have a problem with my mother. She has been a diabetic for quite a long time. She's been also been on medication for blood pressure for about 20 plus years. And recently I tried to get her on the on-the-go pack because that's what she could afford, and Sweeties. And when she took it, about a week, I guess 2 days after starting to take it, she started to get really sick to her stomach. She continued for about, a week to 10 days and then couldn't take it anymore and completely got off everything.
Does she still have her gallbladder?
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of which supplement was making her sick?
She seems to think that it was the Sweeties, because she started out with 15 minutes before each meal, and then her blood sugar was, shooting up to about 170, and so she started to take 2 before every meal, and she just got to the point where the nausea was unbearable.
That's interesting.
I thought it was, as well, because I've been on it for, on the liquid stuff for about 2 years and never had a problem with it.
Well, there's tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people all around the world taking this stuff every day, and it doesn't make them sick, right? So if it was the supplement, then everybody who took it would get sick. So it's your mother's system and how it's reacting to it. And so the first thing to consider when something like this happens is weak digestive system. Mm-hmm. So what I would do for 2 weeks is I would give I would have her stop the stuff that she thinks is causing the problem.
Yeah, she's completely stopped everything.
All right. I would have her get back on the horse just with the calcium, the liquid calcium, digestive enzyme, and make sure she's salting her food so that it tastes good. Because her stomach, in order to digest things appropriately, needs salt and it needs calcium. It also needs a lot of other things, but those are the major things, right? Salt and calcium. So if you give her the liquid calcium and encourage her to salt her food so that it tastes good, and give her a digestive enzyme, one digestive enzyme about 10, 15 minutes before a meal or at the very beginning of a meal. If you do that for 2 weeks, ostensibly you can strengthen her stomach acid, strengthen her digestive tract, so that then she'll be able to handle the nutritional supplements. Because if her stomach acid is insufficient to the cause, if it's weak, or if it's not there at all, then when she swallows the supplements, they're going to be sitting in the stomach, and that's what makes people nauseous. So the first thing that I would do here would be try to increase her digestive acid health. And I guess this begs the question, has she been on a salt-restricted diet?
I don't know. I don't know if the doctors have told her that or not, but I will tell you that when she was on metformin, she had really bad digestive issues where I could literally sit and watch her stomach bloat after she ate.
Yeah, so something's going on down there, and when we see stomach issues, especially if bloating is concerned, then the first, second, and third thing to consider is stomach acid that is weak. Because if the stomach acid is weak, bugs can start to grow in the stomach that shouldn't be there, and the only reason that they're there is because the stomach acid is weak. If the stomach acid was healthy, the stomach acid would kill the bugs, right? And so it kind of becomes a catch-22 after a while. And so I would, for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, focus on increasing the strength of her stomach acid. And to do that, we do a digestive enzyme at the beginning of a meal. We salt our food so that it tastes good all the time, and give the liquid calcium sufficient to the cause. And in her case, well, because of the diabetes, I wouldn't do this. So just give her the liquid calcium and a little bit of water. And it might not hurt to give her 1 extra ounce of liquid calcium a day, right? So if she's 200 pounds, give her 3 ounces instead of 2.
Okay.
Yeah, do that for 21 days as a little in-house experiment. Give us a call back. Let us know what happened.
Okay.
All right.
I have one more question for you.
Shoot.
If you have time. I have an athlete that I work with. She plays lacrosse, and she has about, this is on a good day, probably a half an inch of her rotator cuff left. She refuses to get surgery, but she quite often gets stuck in a locked position with any type of overhead movement, and not to mention that her shoulder repeatedly comes out. She continues to play. She wants to play, but she refuses to get any type of intervention in terms of surgical. My question to you is, if she were to take the Youngevity supplements, number one, what would you suggest? But number two, would she get any results even though she's continuing to play?
This is a mechanical thing, and so if she's not going to have surgery, or if she doesn't need surgery, then I would applaud that. But she needs to get mechanical medicine here. She needs to find a chiropractor who's trained in and experienced with applied kinesiology. I would have her find a chiropractor who is trained and has experience with applied kinesiology. I have seen applied kinesiology do unbelievable things on athletes. About 4 or 5 years ago, when the Chicago Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup for the first time, right, to kind of kick off their dynasty, there was a player who was he had a lot to do with the winning goal that made them win the series. And the day before, he'd been checked into the boards. He was hurting, and they didn't think he was going to be able to play. And a colleague of mine, who was a chiropractor and a really good applied kinesiologist, his name is Matthew Peel, Dr. Matt Peel, here in Illinois, in Chicagoland. He did an applied kinesiology treatment to this guy, and within 20 minutes, literally within 20 minutes, he completely fixed the problem, and the next day the guy was able to skate. So my point here is that oftentimes musculoskeletal injuries like this, or problems, right, can be remarkably affected, and dare I say the word cure, by the proper physical medicine treatment. And the first, second, and third thing that I would do is find a chiropractor who's skilled in applied kinesiology and have them go. And by the way, when you see a chiropractor, I love chiropractors, by the way. I don't know what I would do in my life without good chiropractic. But chiropractors are like plumbers. They're like lawyers. They're like roofers. They're like mechanics. There's good ones and there's bad ones. So when you see a chiropractor, you need to demand from them a timetable inside of which you're going to work. Well, how many times am I going to need to see you to get on the other side of this? And if they can't give you that time period, then don't go to them. And work with them inside of that timetable. And if there's no improvement at the end of that timetable, then go find somebody else. But I think she's going to experience remarkable results here. And also I would do, so the basic understanding here would be, or the basic treatment would be the Healthy Body Start Pack 2.0 liquid. One of those,
Okay.
1 plant minerals, 1 bottle of selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And in addition to that, 1 capsule of glucogel per 10 pounds per day, right? So if she's 150 pounds, she'll need 15 glucogel a day, and like that.
Okay.
And you want to spread those out, like 5, 5, and 5, or 6, 6, and 6,
Sure.
or whatever. Now, in addition to that, if there's money in the kitty, I would do the Good Herbs bone and tissue support. 4 bottles of Good Herbs bone and tissue support. The dose of that would be a half a teaspoon 3 times a day. And for something like this, I doubt that she would need to do that for more than 2 months.
Okay.
So give that a run and call us back and let me know what happened. I'm really kind of excited and interested here to see what happens to this kid.
Okay. Perfect. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
All right, Emily, keep up the good work down there in Georgia. Georgia, the whole day through. All right, we're going from the warm and sunny south to the cold and frigid north up there in Canada. Talking to Shauna about a blood sugar issue. Hey, Shauna, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Hello, Dr. Glidden.
Hello, Shauna. How are you?
Well, I've got a few issues here.
Okay, I hope I can help.
Well, that's why I phoned. I hoped to. Anyway, one is I have a bowel. I think it's an inflammatory bowel disease, but I don't know what kind.
You know, I'm going to have to repeat that, Shauna. We have a bad connection, or I'm having trouble with understanding here. Can you please repeat that for me? Because I missed it.
Yes. I have, bowel trouble.
Bowel trouble? Blocked bowel?
Yes, but I don't. Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know what it is because I haven't had a colonoscopy done yet.
Have you had a colonic treatment? Have you had colonic hydrotherapy?
I've had one.
And what did the colon hydrotherapist say?
She didn't say anything.
Was there any relief from the colonic?
Well, yes, I have trouble with chronic diarrhea, and I noticed that it got better.
Okay, so I'm confused, right? So there's problem with chronic diarrhea. You had a colonic that made it better, but now you're constipated?
No, I mean I have a inflammatory bowel disease, but I don't know what it is because I've noticed blood.
Okay, bloat. So you get bloated in your
Bloat.
abdomen.
No, I've noticed blood in my stool.
Oh,
once.
blood in your stool. Okay, very,
Yes.
very good. Blood in your
I'm
stool.
guessing that makes it an inflammatory bowel disease.
Well, it could be. Could be as simple a thing as a hemorrhoid. Is the blood bright red or is it coffee ground color?
Bright red.
And how many days have you had bright red blood in the stool?
Well, I've only had it once, but I have lots and lots of cramping and in my bowels and diarrhea, and I have bad bowel problems.
All right, stick with me, Sean. We're up against the commercial break. I'm going to finish up the show with you when we come back. I appreciate your patience very much and your trust. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. This is where enlightened people come for real answers to real health conditions. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health, finishing up the show today with Shauna in Canada. Okay, so Shauna, you've been dealing with irritable bowel, presumptively irritable bowel syndrome for how many years? Long time. Okay. And has part of your irritable bowel been occasional blood in the stool? Every once in a while you get blood in the stool with this or not?
No, I just had it once.
Once before in your life or once before recently?
Well, about 2 months ago.
Okay, 2 months ago.
Only once.
Only once. And so the last time that you had blood in the stool was 2 months ago and it only happened once?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how long have you been following my advice?
Well, I've been gluten-free for over a year.
Okay, good girl. And have you been taking any of the nutritional supplements?
Yes, I took the Classic, and I took the OsteoFX.
Very, very, very good.
I took some selenium, but I don't know, I had to go off them because all of a sudden my bowels just couldn't tolerate them.
Because
it
gave you diarrhea?
No, I've always had problems with diarrhea, but I don't know what happened. My bowels just started acting up like to everything.
Yeah, okay.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think. I think it's like, if you had a paper cut on your hand, mm-hmm. and if you had a paper cut on your finger and you put your finger in lemon juice, it would sting. But
sure.
If you didn't have a paper cut on your finger and you put your finger in lemon juice, it would be fine. So
yes.
When there's inflammatory stuff going on in the intestinal tract, when you put nutrients in there, sometimes just the physical presence of the nutrient can cause irritation because the mucous membranes are, funky. So mm-hmm. Here's what I would do for 4 weeks. I would mm-hmm. get a product called Maquis Plus, MAQUI Plus. I get 3 bottles of mm-hmm. Maquis Plus. I would do 1 ounce of the Maquis Plus 3 times a day. 1 ounce. Yep, of the Maquis Plus, MAQUI Plus 3 times a day. I would also get 2 packages of root beer belly. 2 packages of root beer belly. And I would do 1 packet of root beer belly 3 times a day. 1 packet of root beer belly. Yep, 3 times a day. That's the good bacteria that your stomach needs, your digestive tract needs, the root beer belly. And mm-hmm. the Maquis Plus is aloe vera in it and some other things which will be soothing to the digestive tract. Now, since you've been gluten-free for a long time, I think that your body will be able to suck these nutrients up and utilize them extremely effectively. That's what I would do for 4 weeks. 1 ounce of the Maquis Plus 3 times a day and 1 packet of the root beer belly 3 times a day. Do that for 4 weeks. Of course, continue to eliminate the 12 bad foods and give me a shout back after 4 weeks with a report. Does that sound like something you can do?
Yes, it does. Now, Dr. Glidden, can I ask you one more question?
Yep.
I occasionally have pancreatitis. Does that mean my blood sugar is out of whack?
Well, the only way that you can tell if your blood sugar is out of whack is by getting a blood test called hemoglobin A1C. Uh-huh. Hemoglobin A1C. It might be, might not be. So that's the only way that you can tell. That's a really inexpensive, easy test to do. Hemoglobin A1C. You can even order that test yourself through directlabs.com, directlabs.com if you don't want to go see the MD, and I can't blame you if that's the truth. So hemoglobin, H-E-M like Mary, O, G-L-O-B like baby, I-N, hemoglobin, capital A, dash, the number 1, and then C like Charlie, hemoglobin A1C. Get that blood test done. Call me back with the results, and I'll tell you whether or not you have a blood sugar issue. In the meantime, try the Maquis Plus and the root beer belly. and keep your fingers crossed. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, cholesterol webinar. We're busting myths all around the place. 7 p.m. for Dr. Glidden. Advocates and their guests exclusively. Check it out. Glidden.healthcare. Thanks for tuning in and turning on. See you next time.